I was inspired to go to a conference on the stewardship of Central Park, and I asked people my favorite question.
What's my inspiration?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's hard. Well, I can tell you where I got bitten by the bug, which was when I was a kid. I was digging in my grandparents' garden in New London, Connecticut, and I was gardening from the time that I was a kid, and I unearthed this bottle of Moxie Pop, which kind of was a precursor to Coca-Cola, and it was my first brush with landscape archaeology, and ever since then, I think, without even realizing it, I've been always interested in the layers that the landscape holds, and also the stories it has to tell.
When I was in high school, I walked the John Muir Trail, which is from Yosemite Park to Mount Whitney. It's 200 miles. And there was one early morning, I was walking up this path, Glen Path, and the light was just coming. You know, we were up before dawn to climb over this huge path. And I had this moment, almost like an epiphany, that I was so small in this like glorious nature that was all around me, and yet I felt like I was also an essential part of it. And I think my whole career is trying to get back to that moment.
Actually, what inspires me most is when a young person comes to our park from a neighborhood like the Bayview or Hunters Point, San Francisco, and sees the Pacific Ocean for the first time and understands it.
I left my corporate job and I decided to go back to school, and it's been very liberating, so that's what inspires me. This conference has been great. It's been like an eye-opener in sort of getting a sense of what the work field is going to be like, and specifically in Central Park, learning about the history and the restoration projects that have gone on throughout the years and what it really takes to maintain a park.
Community and family, and how I can be a part of that and build for that.
Olmsted inspires me, and the landscape, and the natural landscape whenever possible.
To give my children the feeling that we can take care of things again, and that we love the place we live, and that we invest in the people in the place. And so trying to bring that into our urban world. I'm hoping to learn from everybody here, and it's great. It's always this thing where everybody's kind of thinking about the same thing at the same time.
What inspired me about the conference is honestly just the honest dialogue between the experts, and that they were able to ask each other questions, and very pointed questions at times.
I think things that kind of reach deep into who you are, and that kind of bring out something that maybe you didn't know was there. The conference was very inspiring. Everybody's working toward not solutions, but strategies. So it was very inspiring because I thought, oh, this is happening. And that woodlands really are now understood as an artifact of so many different kinds of parts of composition. So that was exciting.
When you visit a city or a community where you find yourself in such a state of wonder because that place hasn't given in to the sameness we see everywhere. I'd love to be in the room next when they start talking about what to do with this, because I love the park. It's one of my favorite places.
I feel like I have so much to learn. And what's been extraordinary is to see what's, with all of the morning being spent with people from New York Botanical and Prospect Park and Central Park and the Presidio, to see what's happened in the last 10 to 30 years. And then in the afternoon, by having all of these practitioners showing us their work. I mean, it's truly exciting to see the nature and the quality of the work that's being done today. I think it's a great time to be a landscape architect.
Really?